McCluck? It's time we talked about the 4th season of For All Mankind.
After the drop in quality with Season 3, I'm a little reticent.
But surely, if it's as bad as last time, you'll get to complain.
Damn right I will! Hit it! Right, let's get started. As before, there's a gap between seasons, 8 years this time, and we get a quick montage of what we've missed, from Ellen Wilson being re-elected, to oil companies being pissed off at fusion, to Glasnost, to Helios creating a plasma propulsion tech that will mean trips to Mars will only take a month or two depending on where it is in its orbit.
We invented fusion a few years back last season, so why not more made-up concepts, eh?
Why not indeed? We're veering very far away from existing tech now, leaving the grounded reality of the 60s and 80s to a more sci-fi setting now.
You're very positive about this, Doc.
Well, at least here, they do tell us how long a journey will last with their made-up tech, as opposed to last season, when we had no clue what was going on physics-wise.
There's more in that montage still, like our Happy Valley crew returning to Earth, Hilton opening a hotel on the moon, Jimmy Stevens testifying against those activists.
Amazed some of them survived, considering they were at their bomb's ground zero.
There might be a bit of revisionist history going on there. We also see that Dev, Helios' former CEO, is now building robots, and President Gore announcing the end of the Cold War because, yeah, he got elected in that reality.
Damn, they sure cram it in those montages.
And that was only the highlights. Things go so fast, you have to watch the segment multiple times, and still, you miss things.
So, almost a decade on, Happy Valley has massively swelled in size since we last saw it.
And Ed's still commanding a ship. How old must he be by now? Well, he must be in his early 70s.
Space work must keep you young.
And he's partnered with Gregory, the Russian commander from last season, who will be the first man to walk on an asteroid. Speaking of recurring characters, I see Aleda still working on the Florida Houston.
But didn't she end up being flight director by the end of season 3?
Yeah, she was, but she still hasn't recovered from the bomb's trauma, if you ask me. PTSD is a terrible thing.
You know, starting immediately with this asteroid landing brings back a sense of boundless wonder that was somehow lost in season 3.
Well, at least it feels more believable than an orbiting space hotel in the 90s.
You got that right, Doc.
Well, maybe that's a good sign.
Let's hope so. We've a long way to go to the season finale.
So that's what's going on in space, and back on Earth, Margot is alive and not so well living in Russia.
Well, she's getting on, like all our heroes.
Time waits for no man.
She's out of the loop, trying to get back in, but not getting any joy from the Ruskies at Star City.
Until a mysterious woman cryptically tells her to wait. Her time will come.
Ooh, intrigue.
We're also catching up with other characters, like Danny Stevens' wife and daughter, and Danny Poole, who's now retired. What the hell happened to Danny anyway? That'll remain a mystery for now.
Well, I think it's obvious he's either dead or in prison.
And we're also introduced to some new blood, like a former all-real guy who's planning to do some work on the moon, but as there's no space available there, he ends up accepting a job on Mars for the next 2 years.
That's gonna be hard on his wife and kids.
An all-rigger in space. After having so blatantly copied The Martian last season, they better not copy Armageddon this time.
Let's hope so, but there might be hints they might. For one thing, something goes wrong with the asteroid capture mission. Wouldn't be a fam season if we didn't have a crisis on our hands. And we've got an existing character and a new one going to perform a risky EVA to try and re-secure the asteroid. Which one's gonna die?
Place your bets. How about both?
Oh, bit morbid.
But accurate. I mean, looking at the state of the structure, it was beyond foolish to even think it was possible to save the capture, leading to one of the most avoidable and pointless couple of deaths in the series. It was obvious from the get-go the mission had to be aborted. Anyone with any sense would have seen that.
So they started to move the asteroid, and it went wrong. Anyone else think it'll now be on a collision course to Mars or something?
It's almost signposted, isn't it? Hence, my Armageddon concerns.
Speculation aside, this accident is leading NASA to blame the current commander of Happy Valley.
Always blame the commander.
That's where the buck stops. And Hobson, the new lead of NASA, is asking Poole to come out of retirement to go back to command Mars.
Which she eventually accepts, and she, Dale, and a bunch of others get their asses to Mars. But what's that thing about her complaining that Hobson cut the NASA budget by 20%? I thought NASA was self-funded and self-sufficient.
Don't you remember last season how there was talk of bringing its budget into the hands of Congress? Maybe that happened in the last 8 years.
Typical bureaucrats.
So what do you think? Worth carrying on?
Well, despite the stupid avoidable crisis and pointless deaths, which brings back haunting memories of the very subpar Season 3 premiere, it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, onwards to episode 2.
I think what's good about having Dale and Danny as newcomers to Happy Valley is that we're gonna get a view from the command and the lower decks, giving us a good feel of what life is like on Mars for all the crew.
There are more people on Mars from the previous season than I expected, like Lee, the luckiest North Korean SOB for one.
Why SOB?
His appearance and impossible survival was the absolute worst part of the entire show. I just don't like being reminded of it is all.
Worse than strapping a pregnant woman to the top of a shuttle?
Okay, joint worst. So, the differences between the haves and the have-not on Mars are quite stark. Those on the ground floor get nice views, nice food, and as much internet as they need, while those underground where Dale and so many others are, have none of that. Talk about setting up a Workers of the World Unite situation.
Maybe the growing resentment will be eased as Danny isn't happy with the situation herself, starting with a bandwidth problem.
She remembers all too well the issues they had when they were stuck on the moon for months with only one videotape for entertainment.
It's a bit disappointing Ed doesn't seem to remember that himself.
Or maybe he just doesn't care. He's always been a grubby old goat, more so now that he's actually old.
Be that as it may, Poole orders that the satellite be fixed, which was actually never designed to be, but after hours in space, the engineers get it repaired.
Hooray! Internet for everyone!
It's not the only issues, though. Yeah, that helps, but Helios charged their workers for everything, meaning Dale's salary ends up being about the same as if he just worked on Earth. Plus, there's a massive fee should he break his contract, so he's stuck there until the end. I'm telling you, something's gonna give this season.
Now, because NASA has pinned all its hopes on asteroid mining, all other projects are going by the wayside to get it working, which means Kelly's 8-year project to find life on Mars is postponed indefinitely.
Oh, that sucks.
Wouldn't have happened if NASA was still fully funded.
Well, that's weird because I don't remember the recap saying it had been.
You'd think it would have been important enough to mention. Either that or the writers hoped we wouldn't remember.
Meanwhile, Aleda is spiraling back into PTSD.
Looks like American shrinks are piss poor at helping you move on from your trauma. I mean, they didn't help Gordo at all, did they? Or maybe it's just the ones around Houston? It is Texas after all, land of big trucks, big food, and big guns, and you get over your problems by abusing all three.
Leaning into stereotypes now.
I'm comfortable with my decision.
Anyway, Aleda's trauma is such that she ends up quitting NASA. After us following her life from the start of the show when she was just a kid, I really thought she'd do something extraordinary.
Well, she did invent the engine that took Poole's team to Mars last season.
Okay, yeah, but any other engineer character could have done that. I don't know, I was expecting more from her.
How about moving into the private sector to help Kelly find the funding she needs to keep her project to find life on Mars going?
So, admin work. Riveting.
It could be, given a chance. Meanwhile, something's going on in Russia. Everything is being closed down, with police cracking down on a tiny little protest near Marco's favorite newspaper stand.
Must be similar to what happened in our timeline in 1991 when Gorbachev was detained to stop him signing a bill that would have given various Soviet republics more autonomy.
But we won't know about this until next episode.
Looks like they're going to be blending political stuff with social issues and sci-fi, something that was severely lacking last season.
We keep going?
The tone is totally different than last time. It doesn't feel rushed, and the story elements are being introduced in a satisfying way. So, yeah, we keep going. For now.
So Kelly and Aleda are pitching their project, Seeker, to send robots into Martian lava tubes to look for proof of life.
Subterranean extraterrestrial exploration via kinetically enhanced robots. Always love a fun acronym.
But no one's biting.
Well, somebody might.
That's right, Dev might. All he does now is hide away in his private mansion by the sea on his own.
Except Dave's no longer the super rich idealist he once was. He's now only super rich and declines to help.
Kelly insulting him might not have been the best move, you think?
He'll change his mind.
You think?
He's in the story. They wouldn't have brought him back just to kill him off, right?
Well, they did that with Gregory.
True. But rather than kill him off, they gotta get him to take over Helios again. All he needs are a few good shareholders. Although, what's this thing about him saying Kelly inherited her business savvy from Karen, her mom? Doesn't he know she was adopted?
He didn't ask and she did not tell.
So we're fast-forwarding this part of the story, as we only see Aleda talk to one shareholder, an old friend of hers.
Peanut! Good to see he's still alive.
Alive, but messed up as the bomb severely damaged him physically. Plus, he's so disappointed Aleda quit NASA and not made director by now.
Yeah, me too. Fuck PTSD. But yeah, Dave takes control of Helios again. And I'm wondering what kind of a monster Aleda and Kelly have let loose.
Meanwhile, on Mars, Dale is struggling because he's not making enough money. Not surprising if he's spending his spare time in that subterfuge bar drinking Mars vodka.
Life is hard for the exploited masses, Mouse. Remember, you have nothing to lose but your chains, and a world to win.
You're really sticking with that, eh?
I think the signs are clear. Could be wrong, of course, but can you imagine a revolt leading to an independent Mars? Wouldn't that be something worth watching as it happened?
I hear you. And agree.
Now, Dale's star is rising. As being an environmental engineer means he has access to all parts of the base, which piques Ilya's interest, the covered bar owner. Could be a good way to expand his business, and for Dale to make some extra cash.
Welcome to the world of contraband.
It's a new world of opportunity and adventure.
And profit.
It even leads him to dare to venture into the North Korean compound to find the last old thermostat that was left on Mars.
He should have known not to break other people's old machines. Still, kudos to him to have the balls to try and fix it by venturing there.
Yeah, good on him, although it leads us back to Lee, who figures out what he's doing and asks the contraband king for a favor.
Well, that's cool, as he can get anything.
He wants him to smuggle his wife to him.
What the hell?
Yeah! Looks like he'll be used once again for an outrageous and ridiculous plot point.
Meanwhile, Ed and Sveta, his Russian number 2, practice docking for the next asteroid capture, and we learn about his little hydroponic garden.
He makes some lovely strawberries and some weeds for his aches and pains.
Cheeky bugger.
That's why he reveals his secret to Sveta, as she's got a bad back.
Space work is clearly back-breaking work.
And do I detect a blossoming romance?
Between a 70-something and how old is Sveta?
The internet says 31.
So she's old enough to be his granddaughter? Come on.
Love knows no boundaries, McCluck.
Stop that. That's a slippery slope, GG.
You're right, but to an extent, as long as it's two consenting adults. But I'm more worried about him being her superior. That's a potential problematic issue.
Let's leave that to fester for now. In the meantime, the scariest part of the episode is what happened to Margot.
She's just a traitor, McCluck. Why should we care?
Because she's a human being, Mouse, who did what she did for love and to save lives. Plus, she's paid a price for that already. So that coup that started at the end of the last episode has escalated. She's arrested, interrogated by the police, who are on the side of Korshenko the insurrectionist. Then the army, who are with Gorbachev, frees her. But that number that mysterious woman gave her lands her in even more trouble, so she's tortured, only to be eventually freed.
Political coups can be so messy and dangerous for everyone involved.
Or those just passing by. Anyway, it turns out Korshenko won, and that mysterious woman, Irina, is now in charge of Star City, the Russian Houston, and she wants Margot to work for her.
Well, there could have been a simpler way for her to ask Margot to work for her.
Guess the coup happened too fast. Made for good drama, though.
Sure did.
So, okay, we're back to this bigger good show. There's tension and intrigue. There's people doing daring things against the odds, and there's plenty of setup for even more explosive and mostly acceptably realistic events in the future.
It's like Season 3 is but a distant memory.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. So, Has Divided is the name of this episode, and it doesn't waste any time showing us why it's called that, as Sveta and another Russian ends up fighting over what's happening back in their homeland while working outside the Mars base.
Crazy how these spacesuits are to rip, mind?
Must be budget cuts.
As you'd expect as commander of the base, Danny didn't like what happened, and as similar events are erupting all over the base, it's time to set an example. Sveta is barred from flying.
But she's Ed's number 2!
Yeah, that's gonna cause issues with the asteroid capture plan for sure, but there have to be consequences, right?
Never mind about that. She's been recalled to Russia for her actions by the new Soviet government.
For a simple bust-up?
Well, that's because that other Russian has connections with the new government.
Oh, that can't be good.
It's actually causing a diplomatic incident, as Danny argues it's her purview. Houston agrees, but the new Russia stands firm.
It's like the Cold War is freezing up again, with Russians in the command structure no longer recognizing Pool's authority, and even changing the computer displays to Cyrillic.
That's exactly what it's like, Gigi. Anyway, as luck would have it, the writers remember one of the member nations, India, is neutral, so Sveta will be sent there to face trial.
Always good when a problem is resolved by inventing a solution.
That happens so often in entertainment, McCluck.
Oh, I know, but it's worth pointing out nonetheless. Bit of a deus ex machina, really.
Meanwhile, Del fancies making even more money by sending Mars rocks back to Earth, something Ilya is dead against, so he's just gonna go behind his back.
Well, that's bound to bite him in the ass.
Fate waits for no man, Gigi, as he ends up falling into a ravine while he's out on his own collecting those rocks.
Okay, well, I'm surprised workers can just get someone to give them a spacesuit just like that there's no roster of who goes out and when, and that accident didn't cause his suit to rupture like the Russian guys did.
Those old suits were tough as old boots, McCluck.
He also had a generous dose of plot armor. That's always the best armor you can get.
Meanwhile, in Star City, Margot witnesses firsthand how brutal this new regime can be. She points out someone made an error in their report, and that person is promptly disappeared.
It's lucky Irina likes her.
For now, there's a good mix of tension here, and I like that the story takes its time setting its pieces on the board, showing the increasing horror that the new Soviet government is like. It's also good the political situation is far enough removed from reality in the actual 21st century that we have no idea how this will go, which creates a degree of uncertainty we haven't really got in this show, and I like it. How about a complete departure for the 5th episode?
What are you talking about?
A brand new asteroid has been found making its way towards Mars.
So, not the same one from the start whose orbit might have decayed?
None of that. I mean, there's still plenty of time for that to happen, maybe. But right now, this one, which is alleged to be full of iridium, could be worth trillions and trillions of dollars.
And now that tensions are high between nations, it might be a bugger to catch and secure it.
Well, it could be a new opportunity for cooperation, actually. After all, it's been a few months since the Russians' coup happened and Sveta was sent back. This could be a good way to thaw relations again.
Not even Poole and Ed see eye to eye anymore.
Did they ever? Last season, she warned him not to have Stevens on his crew, and look what happened when he ignored her.
That was predictably tragic.
But just as predictable as what happened to him in his forever working North Korean Soyuz capsule.
Oh, that was so sad. You know, although I'm enjoying this season more than the last, it really bugs me that they still do callbacks to some of the stupidest moments of last season.
They can't just ignore what happened, Doc.
Sure they can. Just start talking about it and move on.
I'd be okay with that myself.
Moving on, Ed's new second notices his hand tremor during a test flight and reports it to Poole.
I'm gonna be good.
No, it ain't. And after a confrontation based on very legitimate concerns, she clips his wings. He's no longer commander of the ship, and because of this bust-up, no longer XO.
Bet that won't go down too well.
And just when his daughter and grandchild are on their way to Mars.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Gigi. Dev decided to move to Mars to be closer to his company's action and suggested that Kelly do the same for her Seeker project. But as she struggles about leaving her kid, she proposes he comes too.
It's a sensible proposal from a medical point of view, as his weak heart would not struggle as much on a planet with less gravity. And it was actually kind of moving, because we just learned that Dev's mom had abandoned him as a child, so how could he say no to a mom who didn't want to do that?
So who's gonna run the day-to-day business at Helios if Dev leaves Earth? Aleida.
The Mexican girl? She's an engineer, not a businesswoman.
That's what she said. Meanwhile, Dell's contraband Mars rock business is doing so well, his wife's bought a new house.
Wait until Ilya hears of it. He's gonna blow a gasket.
That actually happens as his smuggling contact sends him a newspaper clipping advertising Mars jewelry, and he confronts him in a typical Russian way.
Yeah, I bet he poisoned his drink.
Well, we won't know what happened until next episode, mind.
If it wasn't for this handful of flashbacks to when Ed and Poole and the others were left stranded on Mars, this would be a pretty good episode. I like the increased political tension, which was a hallmark of the first 2 seasons. I like that we see more of what's going on in Russia, that most of the story threads are engaging, and that any issue our characters encounter feel believable.
What's wrong with the flashbacks, though?
They serve no purpose. We knew food was going to be scarce, and we also knew that they were going to be rescued thanks to that recap in the first episode. So what's the point? And as for what happened to Stevens, it wasn't too much of a surprise, nor a shock. Putting aside the impossibility of the Soyuz capsule, which I absolutely loathe, you put someone who feels terrible about what they did in solitary confinement. Of course they're gonna kill themselves. Did we need to see it, though? I would say no. No, we didn't.
St. Petersburg, or Leningrad as it's still called in this alternate reality, is where the 7 leaders of the spacefaring entities are meeting to discuss matters, and according to Aleida, Capturing and processing that iridium asteroid is projected to be a $2 trillion operation.
Dang!
But the asteroid could be worth 10 times that, so it's definitely worth it.
Except it would take too long for businesses and countries to see a return on investment, something like 30 to 40 years.
Which is too long for countries or even companies to accept.
Which would also take us beyond the projected end of the show, so that just won't do at all.
All through the meeting, Margot spies via cameras and speaks through Irina via a hidden earpiece. She proposes ideas to Aleida without her knowing that it's Margot actually saying these things.
It's a Cyrano de Bergerac situation.
But that's just not good enough for her. She wants to bounce ideas in person.
But she can't do that. Everyone thinks she's dead. Can you imagine the shock and repercussions were she to do that?
Well, she's doing it, with Irina's approval, of course.
And at first, Aleida is just so delighted she's alive after all these years.
But the reality of the situation sets in, and she's damn pissed off about it.
Her mentor was a traitor. She suspected it, but she never really knew for sure. Until now.
The one good thing here is that the Russians didn't have transporter technology. She actually left with her contact just before the explosion last season. It was just blind luck that she left that day, and at that moment. So, they end up working the problem of trying to move the asteroid to orbit Earth rather than it settling around Mars to facilitate a faster turnaround and greater return for Earth. And the Russians eventually have a press conference where Margot reveals she's been a defector for 10 years.
The Americans must be delighted they didn't name their new space center after her.
Meanwhile, on Mars, Ed's going stir-crazy doing nothing, so he gets high and drunk in his room and then has an idea. He goes to Ilia's bar.
Because of course he knew of Ilia's bar.
So why didn't he report it? He's always very strict with stuff like that, unless it can benefit him. Because deep down, Ed's a bully, and I think he kept that information to himself until it became advantageous for him to make use of it. It'll be interesting to see where it goes.
At around the same time, Ilia cuts Dale out of his smuggling route.
He essentially cuts his legs off.
Seriously?
That's just a figure of speed, Gigi. The biggest guy in the smuggling team threatens him.
So, McCluck was wrong. Ilia didn't poison him.
Can't win them all, although I bet he wishes he had. As Dale recruits the North Koreans through Lee, who's pissed off that Ilia never intended to bring his wife to him as promised, and North Korean tough guys beat up that big smuggling guy.
Oh, it's a quick war, as Dale promptly takes over the bar and Ilia finds himself without his favorite lucrative hobby.
I bet it's not the end of it. It can't be, right? Didn't figure out Dale for a kingpin. I don't think he has the chops for it.
That'll be for a later episode, as Macy has gathered a bunch of Helios workers to try and get them to unionize.
Most of them are Americans, so they're not into that kind of commie shit.
Well, you have a point there, McCluck, but things change when Ed pops in.
He sure does pop in everywhere in this episode.
He's clearly planning his revenge on Pull for grounding him, and he didn't come empty-handed. The latest round of bonuses shows that Helios have altered the contracts, which, apparently, they're allowed to do.
You should always read the small print.
Which means they'll need to work harder to earn a pittance compared to the bonuses they used to get.
That's the last straw, and they all agree with Massey that they need to.
Strike!
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 Another good episode, guys.
You like it because you were right about the union stuff.
I was right about that, wrong about something else. Unlike Murphy's, I'm not bitter, Gigi. The political intrigue is still fascinating, and yes, was developing on Mars. I kinda suspected.
There were hints.
They were. It didn't just come out of my nuggets. But I was engaged throughout, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes us. This season is doing its best to erase the stain that was season 3. There's no slapstick jokes, or things that defy the laws of physics as they have been established in the show. It's just good, believable drama, and I'm here for it.
We're not even 7 days into the strike, and there's clearly no end in sight.
The top brass need to protect their obscene profits, so they're not gonna back down.
And neither are the Helios workers who know time is on their side. The more they delay their fuel production, the greater the chance this asteroid will be lost forever.
Which makes it surprising the brass aren't budging. After all, they stand to make trillions. So why not honor the original contracts and give a little more besides? They can afford it.
Because trillions are never enough, Mouse, and it's more important to show the plebs who's in charge.
Well, joke's on those strikers, because the NASA and Russian crews will man the machines themselves.
Good luck without any spacesuits to get to the refinery.
Clever strikers.
Well, if they can't go above, they'll go under.
Wait, what?
Through the drained wastewater pipes.
Clever. But they won't get the machine started without a specific piece of equipment one of the strikers was clever enough to remove.
Missing equipment can always be circumvented, McCluck.
If by circumvented you mean boom, then yes. Yes, it can.
Shit.
Exactly.
You shouldn't touch equipment you don't fully understand. A valuable lesson.
I'm surprised the explosion was so contained though, and only one died. Realistically, the entire refinery should have met its maker.
Meanwhile, Kelly, her son, and Dev arrive on Mars.
With everything going on, I'd forgotten about them.
What a time to arrive in the middle of a general strike.
And although Ed's so glad to see Kelly again, and Alex, of course, he just behaves like the oaf he's always been around kids. I mean, the guy's got no empathy or understanding at all. It's like everyone should like what he likes, especially kids, and if they don't, there's something wrong with them.
It's a bit weird that Alex kept asking about Poppy when he was on Earth, but now that he's finally face to face with him, he doesn't want to be around him. A classic case of being careful what you wish for, GG.
Now, the explosion on Mars makes everything escalate, and the use of force and weapons are even discussed and implemented.
It's season 2 on the moon all over again.
Thankfully, Dev finds another solution, an offer of a better pension and stock options.
Yeah, but I noticed there's no suggestion of reinstating their bonuses to their previous level. Just incentivizing the first 100 who crossed the line.
That's the name of the episode.
Who cares about unions when you can just care about yourself, right?
And their families. Surely that's the first union, right?
Sure, families are important, but are slightly better working conditions and bonuses for the first 100 really worth it when the top brass tends to make millions? Come on.
The line is broken, McCluck. Sorry. The strike is over.
Self-interest beats solidarity. Typical of too many humans. And what a disappointment this strike fizzled out so quickly after weeks of anticipation.
Back on Earth, Irina has decided that her people need to work closely with NASA for them to pull off this asteroid capture mission. And who better to send to Houston than Margot herself?
Come again?
Well, surely she'll be arrested the moment she lands.
She's been granted diplomatic immunity.
That's insane.
The appeal of trillions of dollars makes the top brass accept ludicrous proposals. So off she goes to Houston.
Bloody hell. Although, back on Mars, it turns out Dev actually had a hidden agenda. It seems, just like Ed, he never wants to leave Mars, and breaking the strike was just his way to find out who the most determined people who believe in the same goal are, and he now wants Ed to help him steal the asteroid.
What's he playing at?
Is he for real? Can he really be trusted?
He's pushing for an independent Mars. Told you that would be happening. And to be honest, I'm not sure what to make of that, though. And you're right, Commander. I have my doubts that he can be trusted, too. One of the main demands the strikers had was for the asteroid to be directed to Mars, and he said that would never happen. He broke the strike with a fancy deal for some, and now he's going to do exactly what the strikers wanted with the asteroid, but without their help or something? As for Margot coming back to Houston, I don't foresee anything good coming out of that, but we'll just have to wait till the next episode to see how that develops.
Sergei!
I was wondering what had happened to him since the Americans got him and his parents out of Russia. Well, wonder no more. We start by catching up with his life. He seems content where he is, he has a wife, and he's a physics teacher at the local college. Well, that is, until he hears Margot's speech giving her reasons for her defection on TV.
Yeah, one small earth-shattering speech on national TV throws his whole world upside down.
He really loved that woman.
He decides on the course of action and drives all the way to a lady's house and tells her exactly what took place back in '94, how Margot never wanted to give her engine design until the KGB strangled Sergei in front of her, and how she sacrificed herself and her career to save his life. And now, he really needs to speak with her.
Well, that puts a different spin on the whole story, doesn't it, Mouse?
Told you she did it for love.
She was betraying her country long before that. She helped Sergei and the Russians for years before then. Back on Mars, Ed's trying to convince Massey that Dev's on the level when it comes to helping Mars.
That's rich considering what he did last episode.
I'm kind of wondering how no one seems to have an issue that Dale's taken over Ilya's bar and smuggling business. It seems to be business as usual down there.
There's no time for that, Mouse, as Palmer, the station's new XO, shuts down the bar.
Ilya's doing?
That's what I'm wondering. Or it could be everyone knew of this little backroom dealing, just like Ed did, but they let it slide as it got people a little comfort they needed.
But no more.
That's right. No more. Despite the fact the strike was broken, it seems Paul has ordered a massive crackdown on the base. ID checks everywhere, unfinished sublevels are sealed, controls around the elevators. As Ed says, it's like being in Russia.
It's also going to be hard to organize whatever Dev and Ed are planning, as Kelly's secret mission means she has to leave Alex with Ed for 3 days. But in between the babysitters he'll have to arrange, He'll also have an opportunity to get closer to Alex thanks to a little friendly advice from Dev.
So he's no longer an oaf?
You don't stop being an oaf that quickly, Gigi.
And now we have a Mission Impossible style scenario where Dev and the strike leaders plan to swap out a communications component on Mars's ship so they can give it instructions to counter NASA's and divert the asteroid and make it orbit Mars instead of Earth.
Well, that's gonna take some doing.
How are they gonna do that?
Massey will do the swapping.
Well, wouldn't she be barred from flying again, being the strike leader and all?
Dev convinces them otherwise, saying that would show clear discrimination because of her actions and make his company vulnerable to lawsuits.
No one likes a lawsuit. Still, I don't trust him for breaking the strike, though.
Seems he needed the fuel production to resume, otherwise neither planet would have got the asteroid, Doc.
Anyway, in order to achieve their goal, they need to smuggle backup equipment from the ship in orbit down to Mars.
Lucky Macy knows a guy.
And it all goes like clockwork until a shipping error sends a crucial component to the secure lockup, and there's no way to get it aside from a tiny intake vent.
How tiny?
It's pretty much Alex-shaped.
Ain't that lucky?
Now, all Massey has to do is swap the ship's communications component for their own modified one, pretty much in front of the whole crew.
Well, it's literally there, on the bridge, and it's not a small thing either. F*** me.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Meanwhile, by the Korolev crater on Mars, Kelly's about to finally start her mission.
What an exciting moment for her after all these years of research and planning.
And in Houston, aside from Hobson buttering her up, no one at the Space Center is happy at all to see Margot.
Can you blame them? There's a traitor in their midst. Despite that, Sergei managed to convince Aleda to pass on a message to Margot.
Well, gotta be careful considering she's been watched by the CIA and the KGB.
A clever complex calculation is all she needs, which, when broken down, results in a latitude, a longitude, and a time. It was a little touch and go, but she got there and mate with Sergei.
Without her KGB and CIA security, how did she manage that?
I'm wondering that too, and how Sergei might have put himself in great danger by doing that. But the info he had to relay was critical. Irina was his handler. She controlled the entire situation between him and Margot for decades. Margot's not safe in Russia, and she shouldn't go back.
Wouldn't it have been easier for Aleda to tell her that?
Yeah, it would have, but I guess he also wanted to see her.
I think that risk will be his undoing.
We'll know soon enough. So, we're gearing up for the finale, as we've got two plans for the asteroid, one dependent on usurping the other, which should be fun to watch. And we have a new crisis for Margot. All good stuff.
Well, what about Kelly's Seeker project?
It feels a little like a distraction at the moment. I mean, she'll either find life or not. It's not as crucial nor mission critical as the other two. Kinda like Sveta.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Exactly. What happened to her? Whether you like it or not, there was this burgeoning romance between her and Ed.
And you didn't like that?
That's right, I didn't, but it was there. But ever since she was sent to India to face the consequences of her actions, that's it. Not another word. We don't even know her fate. Makes you wonder what the point of it all was.
And you think Kelly's mission will be similar?
Put it this way. Seems she only came to Mars so Alex could fit in that tiny air vent. But despite that, it was another solid episode, obviously building up to the grand finale. Who will get the asteroid?
I'm rooting for Mars.
Me too. Although, that means rooting for Dev, and I don't really trust the guy. 1 month on, and Ranger, the Mars ship, still has its NASA-approved discriminator.
What's Massey doing?
Or rather, not doing.
The damn thing's right there in the middle of the bridge, guys. It's not like she can easily covertly replace it.
Well, she's only got 48 hours to do so, or else the whole covert plan fails.
How about squirting a tiny drop of water just in the right place so it gets sucked into the discriminator's vent, frying the processor?
What are the odds of that working?
Astronomical.
But it just might work, eh? Why didn't she try that at any time during the last month?
Or maybe she did, but we're just seeing the one successful attempt.
Yeah, maybe. Meanwhile, on Mars, Dev and Ed want to gain access to North Korea's secret camera network so they can spy on the Happy Valley crew, and Lee agrees to help, as long as they manage to get his wife to Mars.
That again?
Well, Dale says he's working on it.
Well, isn't that the same thing Aaliyah said to him?
Yes, it is.
Fool me once, eh?
For a person living in a totally paranoid society, he's unbelievably trusting.
But it doesn't go to plan, and the whole operation starts to slowly get exposed. First, the North Korean commander finds the spying device and complains to Poole about it. This leads her to realize that a whole bunch of highly specialized equipment has been stolen from the Phoenix, equipment which can be used to communicate with a spaceship, and the only one in the area is Ranger. She passes on her findings to NASA, who, in conjunction with Moscow, conclude that someone on Mars wants to sabotage the mission. Well, they get it wrong, though, and think someone wants to blow up the asteroid or Ranger herself.
They're obsessed with explosions because of what happened in the refinery. But did they forget that explosion was caused by their crew who tried to jerry-rig the machinery?
The fact they got the wrong end of the stick is neither here nor there, guys. It makes them activate their CIA and KGB assets on Mars, who start looking for who's responsible. They think Dale is, and so they beat the crap out of him.
Well, not very effective at their job if they resort to torture so quickly.
Or maybe that's exactly the job description.
While this is happening, the North Korean commander looks through old security footage and realizes that Dale somehow has access to one of the forbidden unfinished levels and proceeds to investigate on his own.
On his own? Why not take a few goons with him?
So he can be jumped and rendered unconscious, that's why.
Bloody ridiculous. Never go anywhere without backup. Hasn't he seen any movie?
Well, he's, North Korean.
Good point.
But in a surprise twist, the one who knocks him out is Lee himself.
There goes his career prospects. And in the middle of all that, Kelly asks Ed why he's being so evasive, and in a surprising moment of emotional clarity for Ed, he tells her he fears becoming a senile old man, and that's the reason he never came back to Earth, as on Mars, he feels useful and part of a meaningful project that will endure.
Oh, how nice. We don't often see the big guy being so vulnerable.
And then there's Margot and Sergei.
Now, I told you their meeting last episode didn't make sense, right?
Yeah, you did.
How did Margot elude her CIA and KGB detail to meet him? They make a big show of how meeting him again to discuss the maths and physics of the asteroid capture would be far too dangerous as she's watched 24/7. Yet, that didn't seem to bother her last episode.
Well, this time it bothers her, and they arrange to meet at Aleda's.
And, okay, Sergei takes every precaution to get there, but they don't even hide what he's in the house, eating dinner in front of the big windows and all that.
There is an interesting conversation during the dinner, though, that Sergei is aware that once the asteroid reaches Earth, there very likely won't be any need to invest any further in Mars, and the colony would eventually die.
Are they saying this is the only asteroid worth harvesting?
Well, it's a ridiculous angle to take, but it certainly feels like that's what the top brass in Houston are thinking too.
Seems the only ones who really want this asteroid to go to Earth and not Mars are the bean counters. Sergei also suggests a daring plan to Margot. Seek asylum in Brazil in exchange for helping with their burgeoning space program.
That explains the title of the episode.
Yeah, that title was a little bit of a head-scratcher at first. So he'll leave his wife? Just like that? For the chance to live with the one he truly loves? It's harsh in some ways, but in others, it makes sense.
Well, as you suspected, Sergei was likely being compromised since the initial meeting. I think Moscow didn't do anything about it as his knowledge was useful to help with the mission. Until now.
So, to recap, Massey successfully got the interceptor device switched, but Dev and Ed's desire to spy on the base using North Korean tech leads to their plan being slowly uncovered by the North Korean commander and Danny Poole, with NASA thinking this is a terrorist plot to destroy the asteroid and or Ranger itself, raising the stakes for the finale. The North Korean commander is captured, Dale is badly beaten up, and Margot and Sergei are destined never to be together. Yeah, that's the one element here that annoyed me. It was too obvious since the last episode.
You think Margot set him up?
What? No! I never thought of that. It's just that initial meeting was just too lax in terms of security concerns. I don't even know how Margot got there at all, and it sadly sealed his fate.
The finale starts with a flashback about something that happened 2 months prior. Someone found the North Korean gun Poole had buried at the end of Season 3.
Another ridiculous element from Season 3 is being brought into Season 4, and now there's a gun hidden somewhere on the base. Like, that's not gonna cause a problem at all.
So, with 2 hours until Ranger initiates its burn to divert the asteroid, the North Korean commander is still unconscious and now needs medical attention, while the KGB and CIA operatives are cranking up their torture of Dale.
Damn, these guys are made for each other. Brutal, violent, and not too bright.
And Dale's way tougher than he appears.
Meanwhile, Poole orders another lockdown of the base.
I'm surprised just how many security detail are in the base. There seems to be so many of them.
I agree, it's a bit weird, but such is the world of paranoia, I guess.
And one of those security guards finds that North Korean gun and keeps it to himself.
Talk about blatant foreshadowing.
And since torture isn't working, the CIA guy puts pressure on Dale through his family.
And he breaks. I can't blame him. He held out for far longer than I expected he would have. But now the covert op is compromised, so the rest of the team escaped just in time into the North Korean compound.
So the mission's dead in the water?
Not quite. You see, North Korea have a special communications array so they can talk privately to their crew members anywhere on the base or even on Ranger.
Isn't it fun when new tech appears just when you need it?
Just like when India was remembered to be neutral so Sveta could be sent back to Earth.
Yeah, and look what happened to her. What did happen to her?
Exactly.
So Lee contacts his North Korean crew member on Ranger, who tells Mercy what to do. Go out during the engine burn and override the control of the engines.
Just like that.
It's that or lose the asteroid, McCluck. They have to keep the burn going for longer to slow down the asteroid more than needed so it ends up orbiting Mars rather than slingshotting towards Earth.
It's a bold plan.
It's a desperate plan, especially since the override switch is spring-loaded and the only way to keep it open is with Massey's tether.
But without a tether, she could lose her grip and be flung into space.
Was it her idea?
No. Ed's.
Easy for him to suggest it as he's not up there risking his life.
Well, it might all be for nothing, as Houston is planning on shutting down the engines remotely. Happy Valley doesn't have authorization to do it, but they do.
Meanwhile, Irina makes a surprise visit to Houston. Hobson is delighted to see her, but not Margot, obviously. This makes Margot be worried about Sergei, and she convinces Aleida to go check on him since he's not answering his phone.
She's gonna have a horrible surprise.
Yes, she does. And so does Margot, and when she learns what happened, she immediately goes to confront Irina about it.
Not very sensible.
It isn't. But then she has a thought. She reminisces with Aleida about Werner and how he used to tell her progress was never free. She realizes that she likely won't be of any use to Irina once this mission is over, and will probably suffer the same fate as Sergei. So, why not circumvent the NASA circumvention and make sure that the asteroid orbits Mars, thereby preserving all she has worked for and sacrificed by ensuring that Mars project doesn't die?
It's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Oh, and Aleida's gonna input the code because too many people monitor Margot's every move.
You mean like they're monitoring her right now as she handwrites the code?
Yeah, there's a few holes in this plot for sure. Back on Ranger, Massey secured her tether to the switch so she's unprotected, and unbeknownst to her, Palmer's on his way to stop her.
Fight!
Fighting on the outside of a ship going at speed is far from sensible, Gigi.
It's not sensible, but it's clearly necessary.
The whole thing got pretty exciting, I must admit. Will Palmer gain control of the override switch? Will Aleida write the code in time? Will anyone die? And what will happen when they're inevitably found out?
Well, the subverted command is successfully sent by Houston. Macy got one over Palmer, the engine burns stay on for longer, and the asteroid ends up safely orbiting Mars.
And the shit's gonna hit the fan as Irina figures out Aleida sabotaged the Houston command.
Except Margot takes the blame to protect Aleida, just like she protected Sergei 8 years ago.
She always sacrifices herself for her friends.
See? I told you. Everything she does has been for love.
So that's it, right? The asteroid is now orbiting Mars. It's over.
Ah,
Not quite. The CIA guy got orders to go into the North Korean compound, and he's going there with a bunch of others, fully armed.
But why? The crisis is over, there's no rush anymore.
So the rest of the story can happen.
Ah.
What's Paul got to say about this? His orders supersede hers.
At the same time, Elia rescues Dale.
How kind of him.
Well, I guess they're all in the same boat and he's a big softy at heart.
Whatever the reason, Dale's free and pissed off. He hears about the CIA raid and rallies the workers with him to put a stop to that.
Well, it kind of makes sense. What the workers wanted was for the asteroid to orbit Mars so their jobs were secure. They got what they wanted. This time they did their bit.
So all hell breaks loose on Mars. The CIA guy blows the doors to the North Korean compound, while the workers attack a security detail. It's mayhem, pandemonium, and everything in between. And at the height of it all, that Korean gun, the one Poole buried nearly 10 years ago, is fired.
Who got hit?
Poole. Tragic irony.
Is she dead?
We don't know for the longest time. But no, she survived, and we see her arriving on Earth to meet her grandchild.
Oh, lovely.
It was all a little crazy, but everyone got their happy ending. Even Lee got his wife.
What about the North Korean commander?
No word about him.
And Dale?
We don't know what happened to him.
And Elia?
We don't know either.
Ed?
He's still on Mars, somewhere.
What about Kelly's research?
No progress on that.
So, not everyone got a happy ending then?
Okay, no, not everyone.
Just Lee?
Yeah, kinda. And Mars didn't become independent.
No, I was wrong about that. But at least the base will be expanded, and by 2012, a large mining operation is underway on that asteroid that now orbits Mars.
But that's a story for another season.
All in all, it wasn't a bad season. It had many flaws, but it mostly hung together. Definitely better than the last one. but it didn't reach the heights of Season 2.
I don't think anything can top that one.
The worst part, I think, was how the whole Sergei situation was dealt with. But it did allow Marco one last act of defiance before being arrested, and that was a satisfying conclusion. Oh, and the whole revolt on Mars didn't have the stakes nor the tension we experienced with Season 2 finale. It was also a bit jarring that only when the whole event with the asteroid was resolved that they tried to storm the North Korean compound, and Poole was so utterly ineffective in that. Totally out of character, if you ask me.
Well, there were also plot threads that went nowhere as well.
Absolutely. Zveta was an obvious one. But why drag Kelly into this story if she didn't end up furthering the plot?
Like you said, she was there so Alex could crawl through that vent.
I was joking then, but it turns out it may have been her only contribution to the story. And there were also the pointless deaths in the season premiere.
How could we forget those?
So yeah, in terms of my preference, Season 2 is still the best, closely followed by Season 1. Then further down is Season 4, an alright season. No, don't get me wrong, despite its flaws it was entertaining and kept me interested. But it lacked that special spark Ronald D. Moore had so obviously brought to the first 2 seasons. And at the very bottom of the list, way down there, is Season 3.
And now we're all caught up, ready for Season 5.
We sure are, and just in time too.
In the meantime, do let us know what you think of this season and this entire show in the comments, and I'll give you the response you deserve. Despite that, Sergei managed to convince Aleida to pass on a message to Margot.